20 years overall for YouTube.
YouTube is a cultural staple. You can find every version of every song on YouTube. I think that makes YouTube so culturally important.
In your role, a lot of your focus is on Black music. We talked about NBA YoungBoy and how a lot of his approach, his model, was a bit of the playbook that others looked at. And are there other examples of what's really resonating?
I'll quote Lior. He talks about people chasing sugar highs. It's like you go somewhere, you get a little moment, and you're chasing that high and it crashes down. Whereas the ones who approach YouTube the right way, they look at it as like a funnel, and they basically say, hey, you know what? I'm going to touch all these different things that YouTube has to offer. I'm going to tell a full story. So one is approaching it like a single, and the other one is approaching it like a body of work. My channel is my station.
I feel like you were early on, at least identifying and saying that, yes, Afrobeats is going to go this place. You were putting me onto people that ended up blowing up later. What do you think is the next big thing?
For me,
since you're listening to this show, you're likely influenced by the algorithm pretty heavily in some shape or form. And I intentionally use the term algorithm in this nebulous way since it can refer to your social media algorithm, where you get your news, where you listen to your music, where you watch your videos on any topic under the sun, and more. And the algorithms are especially profound in music, given how much control and how much power the radio program directors and the people that decided the music videos that got played on TV stations had over what was deemed as popular, what got sold, and the type of songs and music that we embraced as a culture. And in the age of algorithms today, these roles still exist, but they look quite different. This is a topic that has always intrigued me, and I wanted to talk more about it with someone who understands this better than most. Tuma Basa, who is a director of Black music and culture at YouTube. Tuma was the person that made those decisions at MTV, BET, Revolt, Spotify, and the Rap Caviar playlist, and now at YouTube. But his role at YouTube has shifted quite a bit even in the time that he's been there. So we talk about this shift, not just how it lives within YouTube, but how it lives within all music and all culture overall. Where are those places that can still move culture, move a song, move an album, or move an artist and give them a leg up when things are more fragmented than ever? Tuma's a wealth of knowledge. It's always great to have him on the show, so I hope you enjoy this as much as we did. Let's dive in. All right, we're here with a return guest. We're here with YouTube's Tuma Basa. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much. Happy to be back.
Of course. So we got 7 years for you at YouTube. We got 20 years overall for YouTube itself. So some things to celebrate here. How do you feel in terms of the impact and what you've been able to achieve since you've started at the role and where YouTube is today?
I think YouTube is in an incredible place, first of all, right? The numbers wise, culturally, I think technologically, I think it's in a beautiful place since then. So much has changed. Back then, we didn't have YouTube Shorts. We didn't have Gen AI. Back then, we didn't have watching YouTube on the television. Was not as big back then. So I can't take any credit, but just happy to be at the right place at the right time. Just like big artists break on YouTube, had long-term relationships with YouTube. They had incredible live stream events on the platform. The culture is in a different place when it comes to quote unquote influencers and streamers, and you know what I mean? And YouTube's at the forefront of all of that.
Yeah, it's like when you look back, a lot of the people that are extremely successful on YouTube, they had their start well into the 2010s, some of them even back in the 2000s. So they were early on this platform before a lot of the professionalization, before a lot of the mainstream companies leading more into YouTube. And I feel like when you joined, we were starting to turn with a lot of that, right? There was obviously a lot of strength where YouTube was already a pretty strong place where it was in 2018, but to think about where it is now.
My personal theory is that YouTube is a cultural staple. We've seen so many things come and go in those 20 years. I always like to quote my guy Brian, who worked at YouTube. He once said something deep, and I always repeat it. He says, but you can find every version of every song on YouTube, whether it be live version, acoustic, whether it be somebody's storytelling on the behind the scenes, or whether it be a remix or the Swahili version. If it exists, it's on YouTube. So that large corpus and that reliability that the artist is going to go and put it on YouTube, that exists, the visuals, it all exists. I think that makes YouTube so culturally important to the whole world, not just hip hop, R&B, or Afrobeats or whatever. It's my personal take on YouTube's role in the culture. It's a staple. It's not going anywhere. So no matter what kind of flavor you put with it or twist or whatever, it's become that part of your everyday life. You see what I'm saying? So that's my personal. That's the disclaimer. Now, this is just me, how I look at it.
I definitely agree on the cultural staple piece of it. YouTube has only become stronger. The same could be said for a lot of other companies that operate in this space,
But
whether
we're only
it's
talking about YouTube right now. I
no,
don't know about those other places. Yeah,
of course,
yeah,
of course.
yeah.
But for the sake of discussion, though, whether it's TikTok and how they've just become a stronger place, or your former employer, Spotify, and that's just become a stronger and stronger company, when you're working directly with artists or their teams and they're looking for what's that YouTube advantage? What's the thing that breaks and sets them apart? Of course, sure, there's the format aspect of videos, but what do you see as that advantage?
YouTube's a one-stop shop. It's like everything from the audio to lyric videos to visualizers to music videos to trailers, advertising the music videos to the behind the scenes of the music. You can have your entire kind of content supply chain. You can have it all right there and let it live.
Yeah, I've often categorized it as the derivative work of what you can put out from a particular song. And you talked about some of this, right? Where on other platforms, maybe it's just the one song. On some of the other user generated contents, there's those. But you have the visualizers, you have the traditional music videos, you have the behind the scenes. I forget which artist that we were doing. We did a recent breakdown in Trapital newsletter, but I think there were at least like 10 tracks and counting for a recent release that they had done, if you include the shorts, if you include the traditional horizontal videos as well. And there are just so many ways to be able to compound that. Playlists is another one.
Don't forget even people reacting to your stuff. You see what I'm saying? Is I'm from the old school, and we used to say context changes content. So sometimes even seeing the ancillary content around it is somebody using your music on the audio picker for their short form content. You know what I mean? Whether it be dance trends popping up, those things are the ones that move the needle, and that is the voice of the people. That's when you know what's connecting, what's not connecting. Is the sound bites when somebody goes on a Breakfast Club or Drink Champs or Joe Budden podcast or $1 million worth of game and provides even more context. Somebody goes and does their record on From the Block or On the Radar or Colors or I don't know, Boiler Room or NPR, Tiny Desk. That's the type of stuff that makes something more complete, more whole, more full, makes it more real. And that's what artists, and I mean, most artists, they care about that.
Right, for sure. And in your role, a lot of your focus is on black music. We talked pretty extensively last time you were on about NBA Youngboy and how at the time a lot of his approach, his model was a bit of the playbook that others looked at in terms of how does someone that is focusing on this as one of their core platforms think about the content they're putting out, think about how they're packaging their music videos, the storytelling. YouTube has obviously now evolved a bit since then, but are there other artists or other examples or even other formats that you see as, okay, this is a bit of the popular mode of how artists, specifically the kind of artists that you work with and what they're doing, what's really resonating?
I think Big X the Plug is a great example of that. Right, that's happening right now, like in real time. He's been an incredible partner, and it was working with Doechii and United Masters and quality control, and it's like a whole ecosystem he's built. But he's very much utilized YouTube, and it's two different worlds are fucking with him. You know what I mean? The country world and the hip hop world, which is like a rarity. I'm not saying it's never happened. It just happened to Shabuzi, but I'm just saying that duality is a beautiful thing, right? A more established example, Doechii. If you go back to her oldest video, click on her page and hit popular latest and oldest. Hit oldest, and you're gonna find some stuff from 11 years ago. And that grind has been consistent. And that's something that I respect about I consider real artists is the way they view YouTube is a long-term relationship. You know what I mean? Dating back to when they didn't have the best equipment or the teams or budgets. Now that YouTube's been around for 20 years, and I believe that's the closest thing we have as a public archive. Not like a library almost, like a canon almost, you know?
Yeah, there's clearly a longevity factor in there. But in terms of how they're approaching the platform today, is there any commonalities or trends in terms of things that are included in the videos or how they think about trying to master the feed and things like that?
Well, I'll quote Lior. He talks about people chasing sugar highs. It's like you go somewhere, you get a little moment, and you're chasing that high, and it crashes down. Whereas the ones who approach YouTube the right way, they look at it as like a funnel, and they basically say, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to touch all these different things that YouTube has to offer. I'm going to tell a full story." So one is approaching it like a single, and the other one is approaching it like a body of work. My channel is my station.
Yeah. Another interesting dynamic of where things are right now is the influence of algorithms and feeds, because especially in the earlier days of streaming, both audio and video, things were a bit more editorial driven, right? Someone that was a picker of particular music that they thought was more popular than ever, you know this better than anyone, that could have a bigger influence. Now, a lot of the algorithms at a lot of the major music and video streaming platforms have gotten stronger and have gotten better at being able to do a lot of that picking for people. How has that shifted the type of role that you have specifically as someone that had that type of role before?
Here, let me tell you something about me. I'll always move with the times. I don't get stuck on the past. But what happens is, I think you have to give credit to the people too. People have caught on how to surf the waves of algorithms. People now understand better. I think in the beginning, there was a disconnect, like information asymmetry of some sort, where, hey, what is this? But I think that has balanced out.
Yeah, it's interesting. It definitely is a categorization of the times, right? I'm sure someone like you felt like the curation and being able to have the push like a program director at the biggest radio station in the world in a lot of ways, right? That was the role.
But I think that is happening. The kids like Kai Cenat is happening in an indirect way, not the traditional way. Even when the Drewski decides to have a skit, you're the topic of the skit or the inspiration of the skit. I think that does move the needle. I think that when somebody does a really dope freestyle on one of the, I don't know, bars on 995 or any of these,
LA Leakers.
yeah, LA Leakers, or someone has a great tiny desk, right? That editorial is just democratized. It's not autocratic and owned and operated. Now it's more of the creators who have that. So I actually disagree. I don't think that's gone anywhere. It's just metamorphized in a different way and maybe spread. It's not as just one place. You get your video on MTV and BET, otherwise you're screwed, or we won't get a return on our investment on our video. No, no, no. It's democratized. It's like we're in a different space.
Yeah, I think someone that lands a big interview on CBS or one of the main four broadcast networks, that was looked at the channel to reach the people. It was connected to the same type of platform, but now it's podcast, it's these appearances, it's going on this cooking show. That same thing kind of works in all aspects of media. It's culture.
And also, don't sleep. You do that CBS morning show thing. There might be more. This is a theory. I don't have the data to back it up, so I'm not speaking on behalf of YouTube. I'm speaking on behalf of my personal cultural observation. More people may see that interview on YouTube than live that morning because the time zones, because not everybody has CBS outside of the United States. I was at Viacom in the early days when YouTube started. They sued YouTube. Remember? I was mad. I just remember I was programming MTV Jams, and a lot of the music videos at that time used to have the MTV Jams logo. Myself and the other co-programmer of Jams at the time, we were so excited because we kept on seeing, oh, this Yin Yang Twins video has the MTV Jams logo. Oh my gosh, we're getting visibility, etc., etc. And then all of a sudden there was like a lawsuit, and then they were like pulling stuff that even had the logo on it, and we're like, oh my gosh. I was there on the other side, but now all of these guys have caught on. This is how we're gonna get to the people, and I'm always gonna root for the people, always. Yeah.
Yeah. And it just shows like what the main thing that people are trying to gather the attention on, right?
Yeah.
The teams don't push the artist to go on Saturday Night Live or some late night talk show for the people that are watching it live. They do it so hopefully there's a sound bite that then goes viral the next day, That's how all of these things essentially work. There's some type of thing you have to meet people where they're at, and then if they're really engaged, maybe they'll tap into this. And if they'll tap into this, maybe they'll go seek out your music. And then maybe some of those will go see you in concert, right? That's how these things work.
Yeah, which I welcome because now I can do other stuff with my time. Go to my kids' soccer practice and then see it when I see it.
Right. I know another thing too, you're often looking at trends, especially given your role. You're looking at not just black music in America, you're looking at all over the diaspora, specifically what's happening in Africa. So for you, I feel like you were early on at least identifying and saying that yes, Afrobeats is going to go this place. Watch me. These are the artists you need to be listening to. I remember even last time we talked, you were putting me onto people that ended up blowing up later.
I was early because that was a part of my life, but it wasn't a part of my professional life necessarily. And that's what we listened to when I was on the continent. And so when it started translating into global industry, like overseas, like abroad, meaning here, I was like, oh my God, this is exciting. When I was at MTV, Alex Okosi was in charge of MTV Base Africa. They used to send videos, but the videos were PAL. I don't know if you remember, tapes used to be PAL, and then America used NTSC. We had to go and convert these beta tapes to the American speed of tapes. Those things don't exist anymore. And that was a real thing. That was where you couldn't even play a tape from overseas because it was or SECOM. So to see technology bring things together, it was beautiful for me. And then most recently, last year I went to Brazil. I had no concept of how the Afro-Brazilian music and how incredible. Like I knew the music, but when you're there and for yourself and you meet the artists and eat the food and hear about the African religions that came from Yoruba people and all preserved, the heritage preservation of there was incredible. I said, "Oh my gosh, all these artists, even before our Brazilian team gave me playlists to listen to, and I got addicted. This woman, Luigi Luna, and then what next, and the Baiana Systems, and I was like, wow, what is this? And to go there and meet Carlinhos Brown, all these guys, I was like, wow, it was like a whole world. Like we went to Bahia and Salvador and Rio also, and it was like a whole world. So even personally, I'm still having those kind of that eyes wide open, like this is an entire world out there with great music, by the way, that doesn't always reach the shores of the United States or what we used to call the urban mainstream.
Right. Since you were early in identifying Afrobeats, your job is to study and get an idea for what trends are next. What do you think is the next big thing?
If you want the major league DJs who have a balcony mix on YouTube, there's TXC. There's these two very lovely ladies. They're signed to LVRN. His dad was in Mafiki Zolo back in the day. He has a huge song right now. But there's so many Amapiano people. Tyler gives a good shout outs to Amapiano a lot. Focalistic, so many. Uncle Waffles, who has a deal in the United States also. Dub and Gogo. It's South African. It's like they even have three step, which is some different. Like they're just so prolific in cultivating culture in South Africa, and it moves fast. Like one day it's Kwaito, one day it's one day it's Amapiano, one day it's three step, but it's actually traveling where you go to festivals. There's just so many, and then also it's influencing even Afrobeats in Nigerian music. You'll hear it in Ashake's music. You'll hear it in Davido's music. You hear it in Burna. Burna Boy was early on it. He had a record, Spono No No, and he had the Yeah Babalu, like with these Mozambican DJs. Davido was very early on it, like in terms of like champion sound and all. There's just a lot of great synergies in other parts of Africa. Even embracing the sound in the UK, in Canada, in the US, here in DC. You got so much.
Yeah. I guess shifting gears a bit, there's more that you do in your role besides just music. You mentioned $1 million worth of game earlier. Our guy Wallo that you've been working with. Talk to us a little bit about that and what that work looks like.
So basically, the origin story is Wallo came and spoke to us. He spent 20 years in prison, but when he got out of prison, he's I'm going to do this. I'm going to build my life. I'm going to choose the right way, but I'm going to share the information. That's what he's really good at, is sharing knowledge. And we said, hey, let's do something. And what we did was we worked with him to have like a presence on the streets level. It's hard to explain what the streets is to a corporation. Leor, he understood right away. He knows what the streets are. but we actually show up to Detroit. We actually show up to Baltimore. We actually show up to, we've done 10 cities, and we tap in with the up and coming artists, the established artists who are from that city, the DJs, the videographers, the dance influencers, the OGs, the community, and we share how to benefit from YouTube. We're not pushing YouTube. We're like how to benefit monetization, release strategies. So we've done 10 cities, and we just did London, which was the first international city. And right now we're working on how to make it more impactful for more people. So that's what we're working on right now. There's an appetite for the connection. When we're connecting, we use city specialists. We don't do it from YouTube's point of view. We don't know. So if Detroit, Chanel Dominique, what's up? Go to New Orleans, Musa and Fatima, what's up? Like we go to Baltimore, Tone, DJ Flo is in Houston, Toby, and like we have people who are from there who are going to say, this is what we need to do. This is how we need to approach this. This is what we care about.
It's funny, we were at a dinner once at a mutual friend's house, and everyone went around and introduced themselves, tell a little bit about their story, and he was sitting right next to me, and he tells his story, which is, obviously, we've heard it, it's incredible. And then I have to follow up after that. I'm like, all right, what do you want me to say?
Also his energy. Wallo, Gilly, they both of them, well, they have a lot of energy, a lot of passion. You know what I mean?
Well, they're good people. A final question for you before we wrap things up.
Yeah.
You recently released a list with Complex, the 20 greatest hip hop music videos of all time. And I looked through your list, a lot of ones are my favorites too. So I have to ask, if you had to pick between the music videos of Hype Williams or the music videos of Dave Myers, who's you taking?
Hype Williams. And then
Your list says otherwise.
But no, the list has multiple criteria. You know what I mean?
Okay.
There's a quantitative part where it was the top 10,000 music videos on YouTube, not just 10,000 hip hop and R&B videos, whatever. Top 10,000. So that eliminated a lot. And then also, by the way, it's not even about elimination. It was like the criteria was very specific, cultural impact, etc. You just asked me my personal, right? And Hype Williams, for me, going through his different phases, like Dave Myers is incredible, by the way. It's even hard to have to pick between the two. But everything from the fisheye lens, there was a time all the Hype Williams videos were like letterboxing, and then they would have the reflection up here. You know what I mean? I went through a lot of phases of Hype Williams. Hype Williams came from Ralph McDaniel's classic concept camp. And so what Ralph McDaniel's, Uncle Ralph, and Video Music Box, that legacy, the fact that he even came from that Lionel C. Martin belly at the time wasn't well received, but it's like a classic movie that was shot like a music video. 2 hours of music video. That's running the 100-meter dash like a marathon, keeping that pace and that energy the whole time. So
I mean, that opening shot of Belly.
Yeah, I mean, it's got Hype Williams because also his style ended up, we found it in our cinema. By the way, I'll never forget when I was in college when Jay-Z's Sunshine came out. I remember very clearly that I liked that video. And I
the
liked
most controversial Jay-Z music video.
Yeah, but he didn't like it. I was like, okay. Like, even when this guy misses, because, so Hype Williams. And also, if we change the criteria, Busta would be all over that list.
Because that's what I was going to ask you, because that seemed like a fairly inclusive threshold, but based on how you framed it, there must have been some. Well, I guess Busta had a few that didn't.
I'm proud of that list, but what happens is that particular was sticking to that, which is included, quantitative, included. But if you ask me pure qualitative, like for me, my personal journey, Hype. You know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah, because I was curious when I saw the list, but I'm glad I asked you to help.
No. That list is legit. I mean, yeah, but it's stuck to the rules.
We'll definitely link to the list so that people can check it out.
Oh, thank you.
Tuma, I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you. No, much respect. By the way, Trapital is a really good name, by the way.
Oh, man. Thank you. I appreciate that.
No, thank you, Dan.
Thanks for watching us on YouTube. For more breakdowns like this on the business of entertainment, media, and technology, make sure you like and subscribe to stay up to the latest on any of the insights that we have on Trapital, and make sure that you tell a friend about it as well. That helps continue to make sure that our show reaches the right people. Thanks again. Talk to you next time.